Okay, here we go, everyone. Back in action on a Tuesday morning. It is Tuesday, right? Yeah, it's Tuesday. I got a little confused for a second there. Had a bit of a panic attack. Whoa, gotta turn that audio off. Let me make sure we don't get any silly echoes. Okay, no echoes today. Cool. Still figuring this out. Actually, I'm doing better. There was a while where every stream started with me having the mic turned off. That was slightly embarrassing, and I'd be talking for like 2 minutes and people would hit me up in chat, be like, we can't hear you. So it took me a couple times to learn and figure that out, but thankfully I figured that out. So welcome, everyone. Man, the Sarge is on fire today. So Sarge, good to have you here. If anybody else is willing, able, and excited to help out with moderation, we can't force Scrum Sarge to be here every day. So I know he's got some stuff going on at work today. We'll get by. I've learned how to manage users and deal with annoying people that slide into chat every once in a while. But always it helps to have help, because I know last week when it happened, I got distracted and I felt like I didn't do a good job keeping things rolling. So thankfully Scrum Sarge has helped in. He's jumped in to help out. So thanks again. If you would like to help, let me know in Discord and we'll get you all set up with the rights. Oh yeah, we had one person. It's known as the sippy cup incident that came in and was a bit disruptive, but that's one of the joys of Twitch. Yeah, look at that. Scrum Sarge recruiting away. Yeah, that is going to be our next emote once we get that unlocked. I've already got ideas of what that looks like, so that should be fun. Whenever anybody starts acting out of hand, we can just drop the sippy cup emote and everybody will know what that means. So that's the plan. All right. So today's topic, DevOps. We came up with this idea. I think this was Brave Dave again. Thank you, Mr. Wilkins, for helping out. Good to have a family of a Hall of Famer ready to jump in. I'll get you set up after this, and we'll go from there. Cool. So DevOps. DevOps is one of those things that is interesting. That's one of those squishy words like dashboard or agile that everybody has this perception or definition in their head, and unfortunately they're all a bit different. One of those challenges that I've run into is when I'm hiring people. I always ask people to tell me what they think agile is all about and why a software engineering team would want to go in that direction. And I've asked that of hundreds, maybe close to 1,000 people, and the answer is always a little bit different. Never exactly the same, which is good. You wouldn't want that. But it always is a little bit different. And DevOps, the number of companies and number of people and leaders I've talked to that define it a little bit different is interesting, but challenging. Yep, that would get a sippy cup right there. So we'll just do it right now, even though it doesn't work. Sippy cup, like, yeah. It's just, we would drop that on you. But okay, moving on. DevOps is the way I term it is it's the unlocker of true Agile for software engineering teams. If you're doing Agile in other departments or any other realm, DevOps certainly isn't as key because there is no dev. But having those feedback loops are the thing that I've found really unlocks a team's ability to truly become Agile, because they get their feedback loops as short as possible. So that's why one of the first things I do is figure out how DevOps is working for the teams when I go coach them and understand how we can make it better. One of my limits is teams need to know whether their changes worked within 15 minutes. So that's the challenge I lay out in front of every DevOps team is upon check-in, a developer should know if that code was good within 15 minutes. because beyond that, you've moved on with something else. You've already moved on to the next bug. The context switches have happened. So that's where I found if you can keep it at 15 minutes or under, you're in good shape. Now that gets hard as your projects get bigger. We ended up doing a lot of interesting things to get all of our tests to run in parallel and not step on each other, because we had these thousands of tests that were running because of the automation we had put in place, but they were serial. So they took quite a while to run, and that created a few problems for us and took way longer than we wanted. It got beyond the 15-minute marker that I put in place. So, as smart teams do, they found a way to innovate and to figure out how to keep it under 15 minutes. And that was re-architecting the way that we ran tests. And not less about the tests and more about the setup and teardown of those tests. We always made sure that the database was left clean, so that way there was no dependency on data from a previous test that would ensure the next test would run. And that was a bit of a challenge, but the team was able to get it done, and that kept us well under that 15-minute mark. And that also enabled us to run a suite of tests only when necessary instead of always running the same thing. So some pretty cool stuff. It was not just unit tests. So we had unit tests, some UI tests, integration tests that were, if you've ever seen the test pyramid, I actually drew this on a whiteboard the other day. The bottom should be unit tests, and that's the bottom because it's the widest. So that's the largest number of tests that you have. Integration tests should be second. That's that second tier. Then UI tests should be that tip of that pyramid that you have a few just to get things done, and that enables you. We actually had it look more like a square. That became a problem because those UI tests are fragile and they're hard to maintain and keep up with. So that's my quick run through of what we did. I got a couple questions I'm going to ask. I'm going to dig in and hopefully help out here. Do the most painful thing. So we actually, the expectation that I had in place was that every test got ran every time. I know there are folks that have regression test suites that only run at night, or integration tests that take a long time, so they again run them once a day or every X number of hours. That, from my perspective, is not good enough. I want that feedback that our entire product is good within 15 minutes. So waiting until the next day to find out that I created a bug, that wasn't good enough. So that's why we had to find a way to make our tests be quick. Yeah, so every merge into an environment is where the full suite of tests ran. So a developer could pool and run locally and run all the unit tests. They could run most of the integration and UI tests, and we actually had to because they were writing them. So they had to be able to run them. They necessarily didn't want to run them all on their machine because it would take a while. But we had good, healthy environments that on every merge of our feature branches, because we use Git flow, every merge of the feature branch would kick off a build and deploy and test. And we did that relatively often. I'd say at least once a day for each team, they would get code to a state where they would merge it back down. And they would merge it into a branch that we considered production. So we didn't have a lot of gates there, and we tried to move as quickly as possible. Now again, we were in a very unique situation in that we got to build everything from scratch. So we were not saddled with a legacy product that didn't have any testing, or the code was architected in a manner where unit testing was a challenge, or it had a crazy UI where integration UI tests couldn't be written until you refactored a lot of things. I'm helping a company out right now that's going through a sizable refactor of their backend code to enable unit tests to actually be able to run. So that's going to open a whole new door of things that's going to, again, enable them to get the feedback they need to go faster. So Lynn, I guess I don't so I mean there should be some finger pointing. Like when you're merging into that branch, if it doesn't end up green, you need to fix it. Otherwise you're slowing down, in our case, 60, 70 people. So it was important that when you merged it down, all of those tests were green, which is why every team had their own environment where they could run the tests before they merged it down. So they could pull in from the main branch to their branch, run all of their tests with their merge code, and then they can merge it into the final step and see all of that. But people need to understand how important broken builds are. So there should be, not finger pointing, but people should have some responsibility around, I'm blocking everyone. I'm blocking all 70 people here. So it's important for me to make sure when I go down there that I'm good. Now, what I didn't want to have is I didn't want to create fear. That's one of those anti-patterns that you see quite often is people are afraid to check in code, or they're afraid to merge. They're afraid to release things. That's because the feedback loops are too long. So you never know until it's too late. If you keep the feedback loops short and quick, you can make confident changes. Because again, if you push something into that master branch and it's broke, you know you can probably get it fixed in like 10 minutes, and away we go, and everybody else is off and running. So then there is no finger pointing. It's just people accept responsibility for the mistake they made. That's okay. Life happens. They fix it and they move on. So it should be a non-issue. Again, as long as you have the capability, because of DevOps, to turn around quickly. If you can't do that, then that's where those bad behaviors come. All right, catching up a bit here. Yeah, Lynn, that's the one real key factor, is that the tests have to live with the code. It always creates that behavior that you're talking about when they really are separate. So we actually had an issue where when we started, a lot of our testing was in Ruby. Our code was .NET and JavaScript. So we, after about 6 months of realizing exactly the problem that you're stating, we decided to rewrite all of our tests in JavaScript, specifically on the front end. So that helped us make sure everything was always in sync, and that was a big switch for us because we did make that same mistake. So about the question of using GitFlow, everybody essentially works off of master, but there's a good branching strategy in place that makes sure that everybody has the capability to validate their changes before they merge it back into master. That's all it's about. I want people working as close to the master branch as possible, but I also want them to do it in a safe way where they feel confident they can validate everything before they do that. Yeah, we had this big pink cowboy hat that one of our developers had made. She was very crafty. So she got this pink cowboy hat that was about this big, and it said Code Cowboy, and it had sequence and all kinds of good writing on it whenever anybody checked directly into master. If they didn't follow our GitFlow branching strategy and they became a cowboy, they went off the reservation and didn't follow the process. Then they had to wear this big hat, and we would take a picture and it would get posted on Twitter, and all kinds of fun was had. We didn't go that far with broken builds, but everybody knew who was responsible. And it wasn't a blaming thing, but it became an important thing for whoever broke the build to raise their hand and say, hey, I got it. Fix is coming. Because those 60 to 70 other people were like, okay, I got to wait. Now, who am I waiting on? Is this under control? Do I need to worry about it? So we found that all people had to do was raise their hand and say, oh, that's my bad. I got it. I'm going to fix it. Then everybody would move on. Or somebody even better would say, cool, how can I help you? And they would go and they would knock it out. So that's the approach that we took, and it worked very well for us. GitOps. I have not heard of that, but there were some things I hadn't heard of last stream. I will have to check on that. Yeah, so I agree that working on master doesn't mean checking directly into master. Like I said, with that cowboy hat, we did have a few people that would do that every now and then because they could. Only a select few had the rights to do that, and that was the nice thing about many of the tools that we had in place was it wouldn't let you do that unless you had specific permissions, and it required you to have X number of provers for every pull request. So those were key tools that made things work well. Okay, so quick break. If you have not, please hit that follow button up above. It likely looks like a heart for you, depending on the device you're on. If you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe for free. That helps support the stream. You have to connect your Amazon Prime to Twitch, and then you hit the subscribe button up above me. And if you have an available Twitch Prime subscription, you can pass that on over, and I will send you many, many thanks. Also, if you have subscribed already, it doesn't auto renew. So you may need to hit that subscribe button every once in a while to let you know if it's available for that month too. And there's going to be special perks for subscribing for a certain number of months and everything that goes along with that. So I'm excited to have all those things. Also, Discord is where we have much of our chat. So it is integrated very tightly with Twitch. So if you subscribe, you get additional rooms and other notifications and everything that goes along with that. So that way we can stay in touch. Okay, so coming back to the stream, I was chatting off stream with Lori, who is back in beautiful, you decide how much sarcasm is in that, Northeast Ohio. She told me the temperature there, I think, was 26 this morning. So it's a little bit chilly. And we were talking about the Christmas stream. So I will be on Christmas morning at 10 o'clock, like normal, just like I was on Thanksgiving Day. It will undoubtedly be a short stream. I've got 3 kids, and my youngest is 9, and he is Christmas crazy right now. So those of you that may have been here where Lincoln was on the stream when he was behind me and popped up, and I'm pretty sure he dabbed, which that's his thing. I think they're going to make a guest appearance on the stream because Christmas is about family. And Lori suggested I should spend the day with my family. But the thing that I realized is you guys are as much a part of my family as everyone else out there. So I wanted to at least swing by and say hello next week. So I'll be swinging by. Hopefully you can too. Don't feel obligated. It's Christmas. Spend time with your family. If you get a break, I'd love to say hi and happy holidays to you. I think we have a Santa hat. I'll try and squeeze that onto my head. That's never easy, but I'll see what I can do. But yeah, so that's what's going to happen next week. I'm sure we'll get into a little bit of discussion, but I'll be in and out. Just want to stay consistent and say hello to everybody, and then let folks move on. Again, please don't feel obligated to show up. That's if you want to come in and have some fun, we'll chat for a little bit. I'm sure my kids will be showing off whatever gifts they got, so we'll see. Ooh, on the grill. Yeah, I've got to decide what I'm going to cook. That's one of the great last discoveries for Christmas Day of what's happening. My dad's coming in town from Northeast Ohio, up by where Lori Blue is. He's driving down this weekend, and the big question on the table is, what am I going to grill? And actually, I think I'm going to smoke something. So I don't know what it's going to be. It might be ribs. It might be chicken. I have done a turkey before. I actually was going to do a turkey for Thanksgiving, but I overbought. I bought a 20-pound turkey, and that was going to take a long time to smoke. So that didn't happen. So I'm going to decide what I'm going to do on Christmas Day. But I'll make sure I get that up and started. But as I mentioned, I've got kids, and my youngest will be up probably at 6 a.m., sitting at the top of the steps, waiting for us to give him the go sign. So we'll likely have everything wrapped up, or excuse me, unwrapped by about 6:15. So there'll be plenty of time. Oxtails. Wait a minute. Are you talking like a cowtail, like a legitimate cowtail? I had that once. I traveled to China, and that was one of the delicacies that we had one night out to eat. It was fine. It tasted normal to me. So, Mr. Wilkins, you got to give us some more about oxtails. Like, is that a code name, or is it a literal cowtail? Because there wasn't a lot of meat on it. Like, it tasted fine. It didn't taste weird or unusual or anything like that. It felt like it was mostly bone. Like, I just wanted more. So maybe there's a way you cook it or you prepare it that was better than the way I had it in China. So, because it was good. I ate it. Like I said, it tasted fine. The great thing about food in China was it's always covered in some sort of fantastic sauce. So that was the best part. I could literally eat just about anything. The one thing that I ruled off when we walked in there was I am not eating sea cucumber. I don't know why. I was just freaked out about it and didn't want to eat it. But it was one of those things that is served in a lot of different places, and I was afraid. I accept it, but I passed on that. So I was able to avoid it for the whole 2 or 3 weeks that I was there. I went there a couple times. We had teams over there. It was a fantastic time, but I did avoid the sea cucumber. Thank goodness. So I got to figure out what I'm going to cook, but I'll set it up and let it go, and swing by and say hello to everybody on Tuesday. Okay, so back to DevOps. Again, when you go in and you start helping a team out, one of the best indicators about how mature DevOps is, not how mature Agile is, but how mature DevOps is that team's fear or lack thereof to make changes. There was a time I joined a mobile shop, and we had 200 plus apps, and we were shipping them to 3 different app stores, to iTunes, Amazon, and Google Play. We were afraid to make changes. There were foundational problems with the product, but the team was afraid to make the changes necessary to fix that problem for the customers and for their own sanity so they could sleep better at night. They were afraid because that deployment process to those 3 different stores for 200 apps took so long. It was a person's job. James, I remember his name, and James was a fantastic guy. James, his whole life was submitting by hand all those apps to all of those stores. So he had to submit 600 apps every time that there was a change. By the time he got done with that, we were giving him something else. So his whole life, it just never ended. And I felt terrible for the guy. He worked his tail off and he did everything he could. And you know what? When you do something 600 times and you're a human, you're going to make a mistake. When you're clicking that same button 600 times, you're going to make a mistake. When you're copying and pasting 600 times, you're going to make a mistake. So I put a challenge out to him. I said, okay, James, your job is to automate this so that we can deploy to all these stores within 1 hour. So that set him off on a mission to go do that. And 6 months later, he had built everything to where we could do that. And then the world changed for us. The world changed for our customers. We did a whole UI refresh. We redid our UI. We wrote it from scratch. We hired a UX designer. We refactored everything. We fixed a lot of the problems that were continuously within our product. And why? It wasn't that we were smarter or better programmers. It was that we weren't scared, because we knew if we messed up, which humans do, and we shipped something that had a bug, we could get a fix out in hours instead of weeks. Historically, a fix took weeks because you had to do it across all of those stores. That changed everything for us. And it changed because we automated the way we deployed our code. And that gave everybody the confidence that we can make these changes and it's going to be okay. We can fail forward instead of having this fear of always falling backwards. So that is the power of DevOps. That is a truly mature DevOps approach where your team, your product organization, your company can confidently make sweeping changes that keep you ahead of the competition, as opposed to, well, I don't know if we can do that. So that's why DevOps is so important. So Lynn, I've had pretty good luck with just doing it because again, I've had it easy. So I've been the leader and I've just said, we're doing this. And when I've sat down with CEOs and executives and board members, I laid out that same thing where I said, there are these things that we want to change, but we're afraid. And I bet you're afraid if I said we were going to do that because you've been here long enough and you've seen the pain and suffering that's been created by a release that didn't go as well as we'd like. We need to remove that fear. Releases should become a non-issue. We shouldn't even know what happened. It should just go. That creates, again, that confidence to innovate, that confidence to try new things, and everybody's on board with that. I've never had a CEO when I've gone to him and said, hey, this is what we're doing. We're going to take some time and we're going to automate this so that we can ship in 2 hours instead of 2 weeks. I've never had a CEO say, nope, that's a bad idea. When you lay it down and you get them to understand what that enables for the company, that's where I think you've got to really think about it. Is just you have to have that discussion from a business value of here's what this enables us as a product and as a company to do. Here's how it makes us better than our competition. Here's why our sales team can now outsell our competitors because we can show them, we can prove to them that we are releasing more often. We are making bigger, more sweeping changes to help them become more effective in their role because of this automation. Those are things that make a difference. Those are the things that win sales. When you're competing against another product and you can show them, here's how we react to a problem. Here's how effective we are. That's a tiebreaker. That's one of those things that gets a deal signed. Believe it or not, but that's one of those things that has pushed deals I've been a part of over the edge. When I could demonstrate, look what we've done. Here's how we've automated it. Here's how you can trust the changes that we're making. Here's the thousands of tests that we run. That again creates a confidence within the company, creates confidence within your customers. It's a game changer for many reasons. So the question about the goal was James, the poor guy, just never got a chance to breathe because we were always releasing code and he was always trying to play catch up. So it was a near impossible mission for him to just do his job on a regular basis. So what I had to do as the leader, it wasn't a challenge that I gave him or a goal that I gave him. I gave him some breathing room. I slowed down the release cycle for a period of time. I slowed us down so we could go faster. So I had to provide that air cover for him so he could get that work done because he was struggling just to keep his nose above water with what the team was building and with what the team needed shipped. So I had to protect him and give him the opportunity to do that. What that protection one was saying, going to the board, going to executives saying, okay, we're going to slow down, but also I'm going to pull a developer here to help him out. So there's a couple things you can do to make that happen, to keep shipping things but you have to create time for that work to get done. Otherwise it never will. So that was not a James issue. That was just somebody had to give him the cover to enable him to go make that happen. Yeah, Scrum Sarge, that never roll back. How many rollbacks have you seen that went smoothly? And I actually was having this discussion with a customer not too long ago. The reason I always like people to roll forward or to basically not do a rollback, but if you do a deployment and something goes wrong, don't roll back, but just get another fix out there. The argument that I gave, which got them to the, okay, that makes sense, was we're very good at shipping and deploying things going forward. We do that dozens of times a day. We rarely ever screw that up. And if we do screw it up, we have a way to make it better. We never really practice rolling back. The only time we ever practice rolling back is when it's a crisis, when something's really wrong. So should you do something, you do so rarely at such an important time when something's gone wrong. So that's where my suggestion, when I am running a team, we always roll forward. We never go back because of that, because we are so practiced at rolling new code forward, at getting bugs out. Very seldom do we practice that worst case scenario of rolling back. So we don't even mess with it because we don't have the muscle memory. We aren't good at it. So let's not pretend we're all of a sudden magically good at something when the pressure's on and the stakes are high. Let's not do that. Let's do the thing we're good at. Let's do the thing we've done hundreds, if not thousands of times. All right, I'm catching up here. Yeah, the blue-green thing, that's a beefy solution. For those of you that don't know, a blue-green deployment is you have essentially two environments. So you have a blue one and a green one, and one of them is active. So you have your latest code, say on the green environment, but you have a new version that's in blue. So you update blue, and then you just switch over. And now green is the passive one and blue is the active one. So if you've ever had to deal with SQL Server and balance loading and all that stuff, you have active and passive nodes. So you update the one that's not active and then you switch it in and switch the other one out. So to his point, you can just switch back to the other one. That's a significant effort and I think makes a lot of sense for large deployments. A lot of the deployments I've ever had to wrestle with weren't that significant and we never had to get there. But I can tell you, we did talk about it. We did say, is this the right thing for us? But we never found the need or the value in going to that length. I always liked it. I thought it was cool and it does provide you a nice rollback. So that definitely makes sense. Look at you, Scrum Sarge. High fives. Hold on. Let me give this for Scrum Sarge. Scrum Sarge, fantastic. Walter says thank you. Yeah, so let's see. We got some folks out there. I can see some names out there. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but if you hit under your chat text box, there's the gear, and then there's the list looking icon, and that shows you who's out there, who's in chat. Yeah, exactly. Actually, that's a really good point, Scrum Sarge, is it's not a rollback. That's a fantastic point. You're right. It's not a rollback. It's just logically, it's a rollback, but physically it's not. It's just a redirecting of traffic again. So you're still doing the same thing that you always do. You're just redirecting the traffic. Yeah, when I just had there was a time when I was working for an insurance company, and we would do deployments at night, and they were long and annoying deployments because our architecture wasn't as good as it should have been. And the number of times when things started to go wrong with the deployment, and we would come up with these innovative and creative ways to solve the problem. But the problem was the real problem to fix the bugs was that we were doing things that were unscheduled, unplanned, and we were winging it. And it just created this snowball effect of problems where we just made the problem worse. And again, we had the best intentions. Like, we didn't want to be there late at night. We wanted to go home and go to bed. So we were being creative, trying to find ways to solve the problem as quickly as possible. But those untested solutions often made the problem worse. So we got to a point that no matter what, we stuck to our plan. We just kept going down the plan we put in place because we knew it worked and we knew we could get there. We just had to be patient and trust it. Yeah, it is nice to have Lori Blue here. So she is fantastic. She often goes and watches these after the fact. So she is traveling, and she had the opportunity to swing in and say hello today. So I'm super excited to have her here. No, Agile Biker. I think he's just Agile Biker now. He's adopting that persona across across everything. So that is not Eric. I wish it was Eric, because Eric's always good to have on here. She is. So we do have a core group of folks that are active on Discord, and I enjoy seeing that all the time. So again, we are having a push. As you can see, we're trying to get to 100 followers. We have 68 up there above my head. So if you can, please share this out. I did a bit of sharing myself on LinkedIn. That seems to be a pretty good source. In Hands-On Agile, it turns out I don't have that Slack up. There's a channel in the Hands-On Agile about finding a mentor. And I got pulled into that with Bob Galen. And I spent some time explaining to people the real value of what this is. And we talked about this a little bit last stream about how you guys are fantastic mentors. Like, this is a place where I think you're going to have a hard time finding such good information from you guys. Again, my goal here is to just be the MC and connect the dots. You guys are fantastic. So I'm trying to push more and more people here to come to the mentors. The mentors are you guys. The mentors are the chat. So thank you for that. Making a dream come true for me. I get so excited every day we get to do this, and that's because of you guys. So thank you. Yeah, Lynn, I think the whole microservices approach is what's driving people away from the monolith. So the monolith is that traditional, very large, single code base that does everything. That when you deploy, you have to deploy everything. Whereas many people are trying to move to that microservices approach where you can release just that piece that's changed. That is a fantastic solution, but it is harder. You have to architect things differently. You have to operate mentally differently. We have to plan things out. There's a lot more, orchestration that has to happen from how you build it. Does it go in this service or this service? How do these two services communicate? What version is that service expecting of this? What's the contract of how those two talk? Who's responsible for that service? So there's a lot, and that orchestration, I think, is the right word, both from an architect perspective, but organizationally across teams, and how you plan and communicate work is very important. Yes, I've got the dual personas. Mug Knight is my traditional gaming name, and Kazi is the business name. So I'm actually going to have another stream. I'm starting up another streaming venture with my kids. So we're we're going to launch a Anderson family streaming channel because they all want to be streamers because that's what cool kids do now. So I'm going to help them figure that out. It'll be fun. So they're an interesting crew. And the funniest one might be my daughter. She's 14, and when she plays games, it's hilarious. Okay, here we go. Yeah, that microservices thing is it's tough because, like I said, the orchestration takes a significant amount of effort. Everything's in its own repo if it's done correctly. They all have their own data stores, so everything's not all in one database. If you do the traditional microservices approach, we actually in the past have done what I considered more macro services, not the true micro. And I've seen people, it's one of those things that's new enough that people are trying to find the right, to your point, the right balancing act of what's appropriately separated versus too much. Like I know I've talked to companies and customers where they created too many services and it became a nightmare. And then I've been places where the services were too big and we wanted to break some of them apart, and we realized the mistakes that we made. The one suggestion that I would have is start simple. I would not launch yourself into everything as its own service because of the orchestration that is required. I would start with bigger, chunkier services, and then that gives you the understanding of how to do it and how to get everything to communicate and build and deploy, and everything goes along with that. Again, more key DevOps pieces. DevOps for microservices are definitely harder just because there's more of them. But I do believe it's the right answer because you can isolate changes. Your risk profile goes down. As is often the case, to reduce your long-term risk profile, you do have to take some initial upfront risk in building out the things to support that. So it is just like we talked about with James, is that he needed the cover to make that happen. As our DevOps guy, like he wasn't DevOps guy, he was just the release guy, but I transformed him into a DevOps guy. But I had to give him the capability and time and freedom to make that happen. That was the key. That was the key for him. So you have to enable your organization to get all the pieces and to lay the foundation to make the services work. Otherwise, it's going to be one of those things where it's a fantastic idea, but you never had the opportunity to execute on it correctly. So that actually makes the problem worse. So if you're in, make sure you're in. My recommendation is to, as Scrum Sarge, incremental microization of services. I feel like that's a blog post or something, Scrum Sarge. You should write that. Fantastic idea. Okay, so let's see how we doing on time. All right, we got about 15 minutes. I would love to hear from you guys about DevOps and what it is and isn't in your organizations, what's working, what's not working, what you wish was better, what you wish was easier. I might steal that title. I actually started a spreadsheet of all the things I want to discuss or write about. Lori Blue is always a generator of fantastic ideas, and she threw like 3 of them at me in the past couple of days. So I'm like, I just have to have a spreadsheet so I don't lose these and I can put them in order. And incremental microization of services is going on the list right now before I forget. Let me find it. There we go. Yep. My topic ideas. That's going in the blog section. All right, there we go. We're done. All right, thank you for that. Yeah, how's Walter back there? He looks a little crooked. That's an even better title, Lori. Oh, man. It's fantastic. It does. Yeah, I do. Yeah. It is interesting that everybody has a behavior that is the idea generator. Some people are driving, some people are walking. I actually got into a process where walking really helped me sort some things out. And it's weird, like brushing my teeth at times. I don't know why. It's like I just turn off my brain, or I turn off parts of my brain, and other parts engage. It's the strangest thing. So I'm always running around, and actually I get a lot of weird ideas at night. Like I sit up out of bed, like, oh, I got this. Luckily, my wife has become accustomed to that, and me jumping out of bed to write something down. It doesn't freak her out anymore. Well, Scrum Sarge, there's only so much time in the day, my friend. Only so much time in the day. You can only do so much in 24 hours. So let's see. In the remaining 13 minutes, quick reminder about Twitch Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe for free. That supports the stream. Hit the subscribe button up above my head, and that'll tell you if you have a free subscription. You can also follow. Follow helps us stay connected, and our Discord server is out there as well. You can see the chat commands, !Prime, !Discord. That gets you all the links. Scrum Sarge is doing fantastic, sharing them all out there so we can stay connected. Discord is getting better and better. I'm happy to see more and more people swinging in. Fire Sue, I saw, joined today, so she's always a part of the stream. So happy to have her in Discord so we can continue the conversation over there. So I thank you all. Ooh, Scrum Sarge, look at that. I need to see if I can do that. I'll give that a shot. All right, so let me see. Lynn's got something up here about organizational structures with DevOps. Oh no, 404. What are we missing there? What's up with that link you sent there, Lynn? Oh wait, I copied too much. My bad. Operator error. Yeah, that's another interesting question that a lot of folks struggle with, is DevOps, and where does it sit? Who does it report to? What's the structure? Yeah, Lynn, it was me. It was not you. I did a poor job of copying and pasting. So your link was good. Like I said, operator error. Yeah, I think the silos is certainly the thing that you don't want to do. Actually, these anti-patterns down at the bottom are pretty good. So I've had, let's see, there was a lot of debate. We had a growing DevOps team, and we treated them as their own squad. So they had their own backlog of work. They had stand-ups. They had all the ceremonies. They would demo their work. They would talk to their customers, who were the developers. There was a lot of debate about, do we put a DevOps person on every team? We didn't have that many DevOps. Or could a DevOps person be responsible for multiple teams and work like that? And we ended up keeping them as their own squad, running on their own backlog. And that worked well. We included them in everything that we did. So when we planned as an organization, every squad planned together, and we had, at the end of every individual ceremony, we had what I termed cross squad. So every squad would send a representative. So after the stand-up, so we had 7 or 8 teams, including DevOps, after everybody's stand-up, which were usually about 9:30. So at 9:45, a representative from every squad would go and go through the stand-up just like they did, but representing their group. So they would say, for my team, here's what we did yesterday, here's what we're doing today, and here's the things that are blocking us. that kept everybody in sync with what was going on, and if there were going to be any problems or anybody needed to help out, they could go back to their team and say, hey, we need to help these guys with this. And DevOps fit in just like that. So they would hear about problems, or they would communicate, hey, we're updating our build server to this afternoon and it's going to be out, or this will enable you to do so and so. So that kept the communication rolling. Planning was the same thing. So they planned their sprints just like everybody else. And after every team planned their sprint, we gathered again, one member from each squad together, and quickly reviewed, here's the things we're doing these next 2 weeks. Just a heads up, here's what's changing, here's what's going on, here's the thing that in that second week might be a bit of a blocker for you because you're working in the same area, or whatever it might be. So, but again, DevOps operated just as every other squad did. Their products were a little bit different. Their customers were different, because our traditional development teams, their customers were the ones buying our products. But DevOps, their customer was the other squads, and keeping them running as effectively and efficiently as possible. Yeah, this is definitely, I'm really glad you pointed this out, Lynn. This is good. One of the things that was beginning to transform things for us in the DevOps world was so much of the configuration was done in code. And that was in our repo. Ellie, thanks for following. Good to have you. Got a few minutes left in today's stream, so happy to have you join and follow today. We're talking about DevOps. So as things began to migrate, so we had Dockerized everything. We were beginning to have every bit of server configuration just be a YAML file or some other configuration that the developers would check in with their code, and more of that DevOps responsibility started to migrate to the teams as we marched down that path. So that was an exciting thing, but a scary thing, because we now enabled 60 to 70 people to make server changes. But because DevOps had done a fantastic job, and we had the capability to recognize failures and respond to them quickly, we were comfortable with it, because we knew, all we have to do is shut down that Docker image, make a fix, and push a new one out. And that would happen in a matter of minutes. So that enabled us, again, to be confident with some of those changes. So that was an exciting thing for us. Yeah, so this is a fantastic job. So let's see, looking at this site that Lynn shared, I'd say the traditional approach that I've taken is down in the, let's see, DevOps team topologies. I've done mostly type number 4, DevOps as an external service, but I tried to minimize the externalness of that service, and that has historically worked pretty well for me. Although this evangelist team is interesting. I'll have to dig into this more. This is a interesting thing that may help a lot of organizations. So thank you, Lynn. High fives for you. Let me see, is there any emote I can pass out, any claps or anything here? We gotta have a clap. Is there a clap or something? Let's see. We gotta figure out what our thank you emote is. I guess that needs to be one that we add. Maybe we need to add thank you first instead of instead of sippy cup. Maybe sippy cup is too negative and we shouldn't go that way. So here, presents. We'll give you a present right now. You're right. We do have Walter. Walter's always there. Yeah. Cool. SRE, is that a release engineer? I know that was in your link that you shared. They mentioned SRE, and I think in the Google model. Oh, Site Reliability Engineering Team. Holy guacamole. What does that mean? What are they responsible for differently than DevOps or Dev? I guess I need to study that some more. Maybe you guys have the answer. Free is good. Oh man. On fire today, people. Holy cow. All right, so we've got some reading to do. First and foremost, the DevOps team topologies that Lynn shared. The book that was then shared that covers a lot of this. Man, good stuff today, folks. Good stuff. And videos. See, how do we not have more people here? That's the thing. Like, there's so much in this last, 3 minutes. The content you guys have shared that is tremendous value add to anybody living in the world that we're living in is fantastic. They're not going to go anywhere else to get this. Yeah, Discord. I worry about getting too crazy with Discord channels. But if there's like a links, or it seems like that worth reading style is something that's good. So that's something that's, maybe I'll add that. Make sure it's open to everybody and not just subscribers. So I wouldn't want to limit learning from folks. So cool. All right. Let's see. I think I'm about done unless anybody has anything else on their end that we need to discuss. Okay, we can add that new channel. Scrum Sarge, I tried to make you a mod in Discord as well, so you may have the capability to do that, but I can do that right after this. So we will do that. So thank you again, everyone, for tuning in, joining in on the discussion. Have a new follower today. That's always fun and exciting. A lot of good things about DevOps. As you can see, it's an evolving topic. People are still learning things. There's new titles that I didn't even know about. So there you go. And that Topologies website that was shared is pretty darn good. So I think that's definitely worth a read. And it sounds like the book is worth reading as well. I'd have to spend some time to dig into that. But other folks in the chat have said it's good. Agile Ideation gave us a YouTube link to share. So we've got some studying to do. I will see everybody on Thursday. So thanks for swinging by. Thanks for adding value for everybody. All right. Take care, everyone.